All right, well, here I am back on the river again after about a week of a break because the river went back up. Whoops. And right when I got here, I had still tied on a caddis imitation because I was assuming that if these fish are looking up, there would probably be some lingering granums, Mother's Day caddis. But as I was standing here kind of observing, and I saw a riser up a little higher, I saw my first salmon fly husk of the year float by, and having just tied a salmon fly imitation this morning before I left for the river, that's all it took, was seeing one husk, and I switched to that. So it's very simple to tie. I'm posting kind of a still shot or a slideshow deal, separate video or separate entry on my YouTube page, but I have officially begun the salmon fly attack. All I needed to see was that one spent shell of a salmon fly to know that at least one has crawled up on a rock or onto a branch and dried himself off and climbed out of his husk and is flying around somewhere. So I'm gonna see if I can get one of these cutthroat to fall for my imitation. It's based on a fly that I created last year that was super successful, and I just slightly improved it for this season. But of course the key is big and high floating with very prominent wings, and of course some fire orange on it. Now, I would be very surprised if these fish would be keyed on it yet, given that we are literally at the beginning of any salmon fly hatch. The water temperature today when I got here is a smooth 49, and based on my observations last year, the salmon fly hatch kind of peaked the last week in June, when the water temperature was a little bit higher, up into the low to mid 50s. But I like this imitation a lot. I've seen at least one fish rise a couple of times. So let's see if we can get him to look at that very prominent. I hope the camera can show that. I love tying these things with those foam wings because although they are above the surface film of the water, I think they provide a really good looking profile for the fish. I would say the visibility, the flow of the river is down to the halfway point from its peak not so long ago. So we're going to drop below 3,000 CFS probably today. The clarity is way up high where I am. There's a fork of the river that dumps a lot of mud, but I'm a good 10 miles above that. All right, we're getting into the garden spot. This fly's got plenty of orange. It's got the rubber legs that both imitate the legs on the natural, but also help with flotation, keeping it upright. Oh, look at that drift right there. Oh my gosh. Come on, buddy. This would be epic. Oh yeah. Right along that little bubble line. I don't know how many fish I hooked last year right along that bubble line. The beauty of this foam-bodied fly is that I kind of proved last year that it's a pretty good imitation of our salmon flies here, but it might as well be a chubby. I mean, a chubby Chernobyl. I'm kind of anti the whole chubby thing. Not for any big reason, but I like, I've always liked the sense in fly fishing that we're trying to match something natural. And this fly is my honest attempt at doing that with our salmon fly here. But as far as the materials used and the basic construction of it, it might as well be a chubby. Come on, buddy, right there in that swirl. Now, I know there's fish seeing it because my history with this exact location is that they are here. So I'm just working it nice and slow. Oh, okay. So we had a strong swirl on that fly and a rejection at the last second. And that was a good sized fish. I'm sure the camera doesn't pick up on it, but I saw the dorsal fin as he came up and took a swipe, or at least came to investigate it. But we'll give him another chance, and he might feel like he regrets not taking it. There we go. There we go. Whoa. All right. First salmon fly fish of the season. Doesn't feel huge, but definitely worth the effort. Look at that. All right. There is nothing better in the world than tying a fly at my little desk in the morning. Yeah, just a little guy. Well, let's take a look at that fly in his mouth. All right. God, that feels so good to get the first one of the season on a hatch that I'm familiar with. Yes. All right. Let's get a look at this fella. Of course, the fly. Okay, so part of the reason the fly hung up in the net is because of these little plastic eyes that I tie on these salmon fly imitations. Whoops. That wasn't the smoothest release. And he took it hard because he is bleeding a little bit, but not out of the gill, just out of his mouth. So let's get this barbless hook out of there as fast as we can. Oh, wow. There we go. There we go. And off he goes. Awesome. And when you tie a size 2 or 4 fly, my God, you use a lot of material. And It's like they don't last any longer than this number 6 will last me. Oh my God, there was another, there we go. There was another swipe at it, and I left it where it was. This is another little guy. Oh, this is a really little guy. But that is an awesome sign for, there we go, perfect release. Awesome sign for the future though, when you catch those ones that are 6 or 8 inches long. Well, it's clear to me that the salmon fly is on. I hooked another couple small ones. This guy's a little bit better. I had several other swipes as well, so they are both looking up and they're looking at big bugs. Oh, there's another perfect release. And then look at, because I dressed my fly the way I did, it came right out of the mouth of that fish, probably with slime on it and everything, and yet it was still floating. You got to look back at my first dry fly video of this year to see my 2-step process where I use the silica beads, and then I have my homemade concoction for the dressing. But right up here at the top of this hole where I've caught so many fish, it is clear that these fish are not hesitating when I make a really good drift through there. They're not hesitating to go after this big bug. And I know there's a big fish that is just thinking, God, it seems a little early for big old salmon flies to be in here. And he's just doubting himself. Should I or shouldn't I? That's how confident I am that there is a number of big fish right here. Now, going back to what I said in an earlier video though, a lot of the biggest cutthroat are up spawning in the tributary streams right now. So they're not available at the moment, but they are just about done with their spawning, and they will all be sneaking into little pockets like this shortly. That's another reason I think why the fish that I've hooked this morning have been small ones. I think some of the biggest fish are still away propagating their species.